Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Firm. This is the Monday morning edition. I am your host, Alex Gore. I am here with Aurora Winter, MBA. She's award-winning, best-selling author, TV producer, media coach, ghostwriter, and successful serial entrepreneur. She uses her filmmaking experience in neuroscience to help people make a difference. Do you want to write a book? Do you want to create multiple streams of income and impact with your successful business, brand, or book? Then stay tuned. We are going to go on a ride with you. Welcome to Inside the Firm.
Oh, it's so great to be on Inside the Firm with you, Alex, and I'm looking forward to helping the listeners turn their words into wealth.
I love it. I was just reading another book, and I should have had it, and I think I have it right here. And this will relate to what you're talking about. It's called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. And one of the chapters, so what he goes through is our world is changing extremely fast. Things are happening at a crazy pace. But the book is about things that will always stay the same. And one of the things that he says is that stories will always sell. Stories will always sell.
Stories will always move the needle. Absolutely. I love that. Actually, I read that book, and it is a good reminder that even though technology is changing so quickly, I mean, even this morning I was playing with Notebook LM and Claude.ai, and there's like so much that's fantastic, but some things stay the same. And if we can lean into them, then we'll always come out ahead. One of the things that stays the same is that if we can solve problems at a profit, then everybody will be glad to do business with us. So focusing on solving problems at a profit. And what you just brought up, Alex, storytelling, or we might, what does it call it? Story selling. People remember stories.
That should be,
are...
Sorry, that should be your next book, Story Selling.
Okay.
It has a nice alliteration to it.
It does have a nice alliteration. I like turn words into wealth, but story selling is pretty good.
Yeah.
Although I've written 10 books, I've got lots more to say on various topics. So yeah, people remember stories, repeat stories. It's stories that go viral, that catch our imagination. And stories are so evocative. And you can also use a story and then back it up with a statistic. So for example, I was intuitively noticed that stories are what have made me successful. I've launched multiple businesses, and many of them generated 7 figures, and they all were started from scratch. So I'm one of those die-hard entrepreneurs. I sold my first business for 6 figures when I was in my 20s. But what was in common between these businesses? I was in the film business. I raised $5 million, made 8 films. I was in the yacht sales business and boat rental business. So that was boats on the water. And I was in the coach training business, and now I help people publish and create what I call $1 million messages so that they can raise capital and change the world. What do all of these businesses had in common? Well, they all started from nothing, and most of them generated 7 figures. But it was the stories that I shared that drew people. And when you stand for something, like Alex, I love your company. Like, you really stand for excellence. You stand for being extraordinary. You stand for the creativity code, your book, right? You're an invitation for people to be extraordinary, to be creative, and to create buildings that go around that. That's very engaging. So as each person listening to this could think about, what do you really care about? What are you a leader for? What could you stand for and be an invitation toward that is like a thought leader way, as opposed to just, buy my thing. And that can totally move the needle.
Yeah. Let's use the Wayback Machine and go back to your filmmaking experience. What did you do there? What kind of lessons did you learn that, and how is that applying now?
Oh, I love this. Well, I'm back in the film business now, but what happened? Okay, there's a couple of really great stories that changed my life and that can hopefully inspire the listeners. So I always wanted to be a writer since I was 9 years old. I was inspired by C.S. Lewis's The Narnia series. I remember at age 9 reaching down the last book in the Narnia series and simultaneously feeling a tingle of excitement because there was one more book, and also feeling, oh my gosh, there's only one more book. And in that moment, I realized that storytellers, writers, are wizards. With
Yep.
just ink on paper, we can transport to another place in time that doesn't even exist, and we can make that real for them. And so I decided at age 9 that I would do everything I could to become a great writer like C.S. Lewis, and I'm still working on that. Anyway, fast forward
Can
when
I
I was
ask you a question just
sure,
because, or else
yeah,
I might forget? Have
yeah,
you read, not watched, have you read The Hunger Games?
no. I
Okay.
started reading The Hunger Games. I've watched them. What do you like about The Hunger Games?
So my wife read them all and she said she
Mhm.
loved them and it's deeper. All books are deeper.
All books are deeper, yeah.
And okay, there's one spoiler. So spoiler alert to the audience, but I won't say it if you don't like spoilers. It's not a big
Oh, no,
spoiler.
no. Give it to me.
It makes me want to read the books even more. So
Mhm.
anyways, everyone has watched the movies, knows what happens, right?
Yeah,
But in the book, the last line of it, Katniss, that's her name, I think.
yeah.
She's um, talking to her daughter at night or whatever, and or her son, I don't know what it is. And all of a sudden they were talking about, oh, playing a game, and then the kid said something like, oh, this is scary or something like that. And then she's like, no worries. I'm butchering it, but the point will be made. Like, this is not, I'm butchering, my wife will kill me, right? And the last line is, well, there's worse games that can be played
Mm,
because the Hunger Games, and
yeah,
they were probably playing, I don't know, tic tac, tackle football or something,
yeah.
There's worse
I
game.
get chills. I get
Yeah.
chills. Like, most books are better than the movies, and I think most authors, I certainly do. We try to incorporate profound messages into a fun, entertaining, action-oriented movie or book. Like my fantasy series, Magic Mystery and the Multiverse.
Yep.
The third book in this series is just about to come out on Kickstarter.
Oh,
But
awesome.
the first book won the Reader's Choice Award Best Book for Teens, and BBC is interested in turning it into a TV series. So that's
Yeah.
very cool, and that's happening right now. But do you want me to still go back and talk about
Yes,
film?
I do. I was
Okay.
just gonna, yep, I was gonna get you back there.
Yeah, and I love The Hunger Games, and I think that that's a very compelling story. And I think all stories can be an invitation for us to live our best lives, for us to be heroes, because you only have one life to live, so you can't make all of the mistakes. But by reading fiction, you can experience the invitation to be a hero or the sinister call of being a villain. And by reading a book, you can decide which way to go, and hopefully you choose the light. Anyway, so shifting to darkness, when my son was 4 and I was 31 years old, my husband died suddenly. He
Oh,
was just
sorry.
33. Thanks, Alex. It was completely unexpected, and as you might anticipate, that completely devastated me. I didn't even know if I wanted to stay on the planet anymore. But I looked at my 4-year-old son looking up at me with such trust that mommy was going to make it all okay, that of course I had to do my best to make it all okay.
Yeah.
And a friend at the time said, "You're moping. You seem very depressed. Come to this party with me." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to." He's like, "Get out of the chair, put your clothes on, let's get out." And so I went to a film party in Vancouver, BC, where I lived at the time, with a bunch of other people who were in film. And I was like, I don't feel like being here. Anyway, I struck up a conversation at the bar with a stranger. And when he asked me what I was writing, I brightened up and I told him about the screenplay that I was writing and Lost Rituals and how exciting it was. And he's like, "You should represent the province of British Columbia and pitch your movie at the Banff Television Festival in front of 600, movers and shakers from Hollywood and around the world." I'm like, ah, okay. I said yes. The next day, a documentary filmmaker called me and she said, "I understand you're representing the province of British Columbia and you're going to pitch your movie. can I follow you around with the documentary film crew?
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, okay. And then before I get on stage, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can blow my reputation in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
So my neck went into spasm, and I had to see a massage therapist before taking my moment in the spotlight. But what happened is it sparked a bidding war, and it was turned into a documentary film called The Big Break, and which was later used to teach the art of pitching at the Banff Film School. So in one fell swoop, I catapulted from depressed widow to somebody who was in the limelight, at least had 50 minutes of fame in the
Yep.
Canadian film business. And that indirectly led to my first job in television, working as an executive for Canada's largest film and television production company. But before we go into that, I want to point out the lesson for everybody, which is that if you are feeling down, get out of the house, listen to your friends. Lesson number 2, if somebody asks you what you're up to, share it with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Number 3, if you are given an opportunity that is totally outside your comfort zone, but is aligned with your values and where you're going, say yes. Don't be surprised if after you say yes to that one, another opportunity that stretches you even more, like the documentary film crew, comes along. Say yes again. And then show up and do your best. And who knows, miracles might unfold, because I learned that the right words to the right people at the right time can change your life. That pitch, which was less than 20 minutes, completely changed my life and changed me from being a struggling widow whose husband had died, who didn't have a business, who didn't have a job, and who had one little mouth to feed, to somebody, at a pretty high level in a very successful industry, working for Canada's top film and television production company.
Yep. I feel too that a lot of times people don't understand the concept of like what position that you're in can really change what outcome you're at. So just imagine like the most simplest example ever that just came to my mind is you could be a secretary or the office front desk person at a dentist office in Nebraska, the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere in Nebraska. And you could be literally the best office secretary, whatever, in the middle of Nebraska. You could probably be the best of that too in some big law firm, at some big doctor's office in New York, California, wherever. People
yeah,
think because, that's where they are, they're in this depressed state or, whatever it is, that, hey, this is my limit. It's like, no, no, no. If you were in a different position, different place, you could be doing what you're doing at a different level.
exactly. And you would apply your same intelligence and conscientiousness to it, but you might be paid 3 times as much.
Yep. And it goes for every field. Every
Every
field is,
field.
yep.
Every field. So another takeaway lesson that you're saying there, Alex, is like, be committed to being extraordinary wherever you are, but then see, is there a move that you could make
An
that would improve
opportunity
that?
that comes
An
up that you can,
opportunity.
yep.
Exactly. Say yes to those opportunities.
Yeah.
So then after doing that, I launched a film and television production company with a partner in London, England. That's when we raised about $5 million on the EIS tax shelter scheme, and went on to make 8 films. So that was kind of fun. But then I came back to writing books, which was my first love. I've written about 10 books under my own name, and then I've ghostwritten a number of other books. I love helping people get clear in their story and being able to communicate that. So as you said, you've just got this book, Turn Words into Wealth,
Yep.
Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book. Yeah.
Got it.
Inside that book are 7 different ways to make 7 figures with your $1 million message. And maybe we can get into 1 or 2 of those. And then a completely different fantasy books, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, The Secret Multiverse Academy. And the third one is, which I was writing this morning, Multiverse Mayhem. Mwahaha. So we have a series of 3 books that are kind of like Harry Potter meets Doctor Who. The
Oh,
Hunger Games audience would love it.
perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like a messaging framework before we go into ways to make money off of it, because I love that idea. So I want to circle back to that. But when you think about creating messages, turning words into wealth, is there some sort of framework that you are what is a word I'm looking for? Filter? Or are you thinking about it in a different way that someone can take a whole bunch of ideas that they have on the wall and filter it down into words that make wealth.
Well, I was so excited to talk to you today, Alex, because one of the things that I talk about on a lot of podcasts, but we're going to make the most sense to you and your audience, is that there is a hidden structure underpinning all $1,000,000 messages.
That's a blueprint for you architects. That's a blueprint
Exactly.
there.
There's a blueprint. And once you know the structure, you can paint any words you'd like on it and it will work. So many people just think they don't see that there is a structure behind good communication because they haven't studied it, or maybe their brains are not oriented that way. But you can look at a house and you can see, okay, it needs a foundation. If there's no foundation, the house will wash away in the first rain if it's on sand, right? So there needs to be a foundation. There needs to be 4 walls at least. There needs to be a roof. It needs to have engineering structure so that the roof doesn't crush the walls. And wouldn't be bad if you remember to put the plumbing in and a toilet and a kitchen and have a front door and have windows and stuff. But you can think of a house and understand, if you meet those minimum criteria, the house will stand. We can get more complex and do an apartment complex and a mansion, a castle, whatever, but there's a structure. So the difference in the structure between a house and an apartment building and a castle is not as big as the difference between you look at them. And it's the same with words. So in my book, Turn Words into Wealth, I've done my best to show people, and there's a couple I could teach because they're quite short, to show people a structure that they can hang almost any content on and it will work.
Yeah.
So
Let's go over a couple of those.
Yeah, I love to do this because it's not such a big mystery what words work. Okay, I will share 2 things that will make sense in brief. And then if people want more, they can read Turn Words into Wealth. So one of the structures you already hinted at with your reference to the Hunger Games. So as a screenwriter, as a storyteller, but I am familiar with, but as a movie watcher or a book reader, you are also familiar with, and the audience is also familiar with, which is the hero's journey. So in the Hunger Games, Katniss, the hero, has a heroic and harrowing journey. She has something at stake. She volunteers in order to save her little sister from certain death. And then she faces all kinds of horrible challenges. The story would not work without the challenges. There have to be challenges. The hero's journey is the word hero. Heroes confront challenges. Heroes slay dragons. And then there is a turning point, which is akin to discovering the Holy Grail. And then the hero comes back triumphant. So in the classical structure, which you could read about if you're a big fan of reading this kind of thing, the mythic structure, Joseph Campbell's got a book, Hero with 1,000 Faces. But you understand this, most of us understand this simply from watching any movies. There's a challenge. Harry Potter, his parents are dead. He's living a miserable life with his aunt and uncle. He thinks he's an ordinary miserable boy, with hand-down clothes from his really plump cousin. And then the call to adventure comes, and the first call to adventure is he's invited to Hogwarts, school for witches and wizards. So that's the call to adventure. That's a structural element. And then he has mishaps getting there. How can he get through? How can he walk into, what is it, 9 3/4 or something at the train station? And then he has various adventures. He meets mentors and friends, and he meets people who are enemies. These are all structural elements. They're in every hero's journey. And then he triumphs at the end. And because it's a hero, his triumph also blesses other people. Okay, so taking that structure, tell the story of how you helped one of your clients. So the client was dealing with all of these problems, like Harry Potter. He was in dirty clothes that didn't fit. He was dealing with his version of the aunt and uncle who hated him. He was dealing with his version of, he didn't know that he was actually an amazing being inside. He thought he was a loser. And then what is the call to adventure? Maybe the call to adventure is he met you, Alex. And all of a sudden there was an opportunity to go to Hogwarts, or your version of that. And then you can tell the story of, you just need 3 challenges. You don't need to write a whole movie. 3
Yep.
challenges the client was dealing with, the turning point, the holy grail, is you solve these problems. And then the client's life is forever changed in whatever, his beautiful home with his happy family,
Yep.
thanks to Alex and his team. So deeply understanding the components of the hero's journey, which we all have in our hearts and minds, but then structure your story of how you started your business, how you helped a client, how you overcame a challenge that may be one of your stories that you tell when you're answering frequently asked questions. That story will stick with people. They will remember it. They will remember you. And here's the best part, they will probably repeat it to others.
Yeah. I have a question, and it came from the 2 examples that you gave, Harry Potter and Hunger Games. And I'm making this up on the fly, so if it is nowhere, then you'd be like, no, that doesn't really apply. Or if it's something that you think is in the structure, let me know. So one of the things with these heroes is that they're basically no ones to begin with, right? And if people follow some other story brand, they talk about how there needs to be a guide like Yoda and stuff like that. But then also, it seems like Katniss, and let's just use Harry Potter, let's stick on that. They develop something like within themselves, some skill set. You know, Katniss with her bow, and then her love for protection, right? Protecting Peter, protecting her sister, and stuff like that. And that's kind of like the secret sauce that kind of helps. Harry Potter has this, and it actually works well because it connects to his downfall. His major problem was Voldemort got him on the head, or nicked him. His mom saved him, and now he has this power that he didn't know. So what I'm trying to
Yeah.
parse out here is a connection to when you tell the problems and you tell the story that you're helping them. Could you somehow mix, like, here's something unique, you know, the bow and arrow, the, you know, like something unique about us that allows us to solve this.
Oh,
And then that,
absolutely.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely. You want to work in your secret sauce without giving them the secret sauce recipe.
yep,
To mix metaphors, alluding to a Kentucky Fried Chicken there, when they keep their secret, recipe under lock and key, apparently.
yeah,
So in a movie or in a book, I'm always working to invite people to notice that latent within them is a hero who has wonderful qualities, even though he or she may have dealt with hard times. If you are selling or enrolling a new client to get your services, you might want to point out your special skill with a bow and arrow, or you might want to point out the challenges and adversities that you have faced in the past that's given you this scar, but that has also given you the ability to communicate with snakes. I mean,
yep,
all of us, not all of us, in business, so many people hide the transformative experiences that have shaped the amazing person that they have become. And they only talk about their expertise. They only talk about their successes, and they bury, how their heart was broken in a divorce, how their father died when they were 4, how they went bankrupt twice. But when we also share our humanity, once we've come through it, once we've transcended it, once we have alchemized that into wisdom, then we stand as both the hero and a real human being that people can relate to. Because then they can say, for example, using me as an example, well, Aurora overcame the death of her husband. Maybe I can overcome the death of my husband, or the death of my business, or the death of my marriage with my divorce. If I only said, I did this and this and this fabulous thing,
yeah.
maybe
If you
like,
only said, I showed up to a party and I told my, you know, like, that
yeah,
doesn't tell the story. That's not, yeah,
right. So the hero's journey has a lot of challenges in it, and it has dead ends, things that don't work. But then when we're selling something, the thing that does work is your secret sauce. So in this hypothetical example, maybe you dealt with a client He read your book, he was amazed, he was drawn to you, but maybe before he came to you and your team, he had this bad experience and this other bad experience, and he tried to solve it this other way, and none of those things worked. But when he came to you and your team, because of your secret sauce, because of your ability with the bow and arrow,
Yep.
you were able to easily solve his problem, and the result is it changed his life and his family's life, and that. So does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. Let's try, and I know we could go deeper on that, and that's why you should get the book and talk to you. But let's transition into, now that we have a compelling story, or at least the framework or the start of it, you alluded to 7 ways to make 7 figures. So there's multiple ways to leverage this story now.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to leverage your story, whether you're pitching to raise capital, you're enrolling clients, or you are wanting to create a marketing funnel to bring your ideal prospect to you at a low cost. We talked a lot in the last example about enrolling a client, using story selling to enroll a client.
Yep.
So let's talk about a marketing funnel. So before I wrote the book Turn Words into Wealth, I wrote a little short book. I believe in like quick 90-day tests before you go whole hog launching a new business or a new offering. Why not test if the market wants it? So at the time, I had just finished my MBA. People were asking me, how do I write so many books? How do I get on radio? How do I get on TV? How can I do what you've done, Aurora? But at that time, I was known as the founder of the Grief Coach Academy. I was known in the marketplace as somebody who helped people through grief. You can see that I had personal experience with that, and I really was passionate about helping people transform their grief into wisdom and alchemize it. But I'm a restless soul, so I also wanted to do something new. So what I did is I wrote a very short book, and I did it the spoken author way, which is how I help people write books quickly and easily, the fun way. I call it the spoken author method. That's what we do at Same Page
Oh,
Publishing
nice.
now. But I did a version of that. So one of the director of coaching for Tony Robbins, he had interviewed me before to his team of coaches about how to help people through grief and stress. I said, would you be willing to interview me about marketing and creating $1 million message? He's like, sure, I know your background. I know that you've done film and television, launched several other businesses. So I gave him the questions. In other words, I choreographed the interview. I prepared. I didn't just
Yep.
shoot from the hip. And I thought the interview was quite nice. I transcribed it and turned it into a short little book. It didn't take me very long. And that book is called Marketing Fastrack. Then, and this might be something you could even do with your, wonderful book, The Creativity Code. I offered the book for free to my list for all people who knew me as the founder of the Grief Coach Academy. This was not a good match, but it was a test, right? It was a quick test. I offered the book for free, but they paid a couple of bucks for shipping and handling. And then they received the book. I think there's a lot of value in getting a physical book as opposed to just a PDF or an ebook. And then they got a sequence of 5 videos, which added more value, built know, like, and trust. Those videos explained what is $1 million message. Here's some examples of $1 million message. Here are some like fill in the blank templates you could use to create your own $1 million message. Here's what a marketing funnel looks like. I explained a bunch of things, gave them some clips from me being on TV. And then it offered them, would you like to have a business breakthrough call with me to help you create your $1 million message and perhaps help you with your marketing and maybe writing and publishing a book. So as a result of that, pretty much within, I think it was a week,
How many
I
did you
had,
send out?
I should look that up. Well, my email list was quite small. I had a 12,000 email list of 12,000 people, and I maybe sent out not that many, 200 books maybe,
Okay. I
something
think
like
that that's
that.
helpful because people don't know, should I send out 50 books or 2,000 books?
Yeah, I think it was only around 200, and it's called a self-liquidating lead. So the book was short, so people paid $4.77 for shipping and handling. So I think it was out a buck per lead.
Yeah.
I also invested $10,000 in advertising. So those are the raw data, but the result was $250,000 of new business in 90 days. So that was a super successful test. I'm like, oh yeah, I think people are interested in me helping them with, creating their $1 million message and writing and publishing books. We have a lot of evidence and some money in the bank. I also got on shows with segments about it. So I'm like, okay, that definitely worked. So then I expanded the business. I pivoted, and now I'm, the founder of the Same Page Publishing, and help people do this this kind of spoken author method that's really fun. If people want to see an example of a marketing marketing funnel like that, and if they want to get the book for free, they can go to turnwordsintowealth.com, and they will get 5 free videos, like a video masterclass on how to attract capital, clients, and media coverage. That's at turnwordsintowealth.com. But for example, for you, Alex, with your, I haven't read it, but I started reading it. The Creativity Code looks like a lovely book.
Yeah.
You could consider offering it to the people on your email list, or you could consider offering it at the end of every podcast. Go to a certain place. Maybe the book is free and they just pay for shipping and handling. Then you do the same thing that I did. Maybe you have 5 free videos that add value about the Creativity Code and add value about what you're up to, that clarify, hey, these are the people that I powerfully serve. So you're transparent who your ideal client is, because you want your marketing funnel to do, it's like dating. If you haven't dating, if you're on match.com, you don't want everybody responding to you. It would be like overwhelming. You actually want to weed out the people who are not your tribe and attract the people who are. So you want your marketing funnel to clearly do that. And then you could offer them, I don't know, business breakthrough call, as I did. And then boom. I mean, how much is the thing to consider when you have a marketing funnel is, what is the lifetime value of a new customer? Mm-hmm. So this kind of marketing funnel works beautifully for anyone who's selling something over $2,000. If you're selling a very small item, then you don't want to be talking to people on the phone, because you can't afford to. And in that case, I would double down on the ebook marketing. I have a client, Michael Stockham is his name, and his book, Confessions of an Accidental Lawyer, which has won a bunch of awards, including the American Fiction Award for his legal thriller. I mean, we got, for pennies per new reader, we got about 30,000 readers in a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Pennies each. So you can still use books to attract somebody to buy the next book in your series, but you don't want to talk to every person who's buying a low, but you can use the ebook for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think there was a lot of wisdom here. I would like to, maybe in half a year have you back on and we could go deeper on more stuff and even different things. But you've already told us about turnwordsintowealth.com to go there. I'll leave you with 2 questions. One is there any other message you'd like to get across to our audience? And then 2, if they want to reach out to you other than that place, what's the best place to go?
If they want to reach out to me, they can go to samepagepublishing.com, samepagepublishing.com. They can see all of the books that I've helped people publish. They can get a business breakthrough call with or without getting the video masterclass. And I love helping experts and entrepreneurs who already have a mid 6-figure or 7-figure or more business. That's my niche, is to help people 10x a business that's already thriving. So I'm not the person for the poetry book or for the startup. But if you are a startup, you can use all the wisdom in Turn Words into Wealth, and you can do it yourself for a shoestring budget. In terms of leaving people with a message, I think I would love to invite people to lean into, what is the legacy that you want to leave? I think, yes, we're all paying the mortgage and wanting to get our kids to school on time and wanting to stay fit at the gym and trying to watch our diet and getting overwhelmed with the political news. But at a higher level, who are you? And if you could change one thing in the world, what would you change? So after my husband died, after I got my MBA, I asked myself, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, or with the next decade, let's say, because who knows, I might live a long time. And
Yep.
I thought, with my life experience, with my passion for communication, with my interest in helping people, with my love of getting the gold in people's story and helping them release the baggage, what would be the best use of a person like that? So I read Buckminster Fuller, who is all
Oh
about,
yeah, architect. There you go.
another architect, and he was all
Yep.
about
Spaceship Earth.
Spaceship Earth, like what could one person do that would change the world? So I thought, given who I am and my passion and my expertise, what I can do to help change Spaceship Earth and to make the world better is to help people who are already up to something, who are already on the path of making the world a better place, to help them get their message more clear, more defined, more comfortable in their skin, and help them 10x their business and their impact. So that's the legacy that I am working on leaving.
It's a great, great legacy. Thank you for coming. It was amazing talking to you.
Likewise. Thanks, Alex.